Hi, Elise Dewsberry here, Artistic Director at New Musicals, Inc. And this is my 39th vlog, but it's part 2 in my little mini-series on collaboration. At the end of my last vlog about why should you bother to collaborate, I said that one of the reasons people have for not collaborating is they can't find a collaborator. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about how to find a collaborator. So as promised, this part is about how to find a collaborator. Now, as I said before, there's no magic bullet here. I'm not going to tell you something and you're going to rush out and find the best collaborator ever, because a collaboration is like a marriage, and finding a spouse is a difficult thing. Finding a collaborator is equally difficult and painful, and can mean, it can mean a joyous, lifelong relationship, or it can mean a troubled, stormy road with divorce, coming up later. And you all know that. You've been through this before. So let me just give you some ideas about how to go about finding collaborators, and several ideas, and try them all. Because there's no one way to do it. You just have to keep putting yourself out there. So one way would be, of course, when we're not in a pandemic, you can go out to local theater, or watch stuff online if you need to, but check out the writers that are in your own area if you can. If you want to reach abroad and listen to things on the internet or watch things that are being streamed live, that's fine too. Check out the talent that's out there in every chance that you get. So if you're a book writer looking for a composer, go and listen to musicals and see if you can find composers that you think are really awesome, that you like their work because you saw it at a fringe festival, you saw it in an online workshop of some kind. If you're a composer and you're looking for a book writer that you think has the kind of sensibility you have, same thing. And the important thing to remember is, if you do find someone whose work you admire, try not to be afraid to reach out to them. The worst possible thing that could happen if you reach out to them is they would say, "Leave me alone." And that's not very likely. Most of them aren't going to do that. It's far more likely that they would just not respond at all, but that's not the end of the world if they don't. I can promise you that if you write to someone and tell them, I saw your musical, I listened to your musical, and I thought you're one of the best book writers I've ever known. You were so funny, or you're such a great composer, I loved what you did on that show. Basically, people are going to appreciate being complimented, and that's going to put them in a good mood. Now, if your next thing is, boy, I'd love for you to listen to some of my stuff because I'd love to see if we could collaborate, maybe their answer will be, "Thanks for the compliment, but I'm not looking for a collaborator." Okay, so, no skin off your nose. It's not the end of the world. But they might say, "Sure, send me some of the stuff that you have. Let me have a listen." You never know. So please don't be afraid to reach out, because nothing too terrible could happen, but something good could happen. So it's worth doing that. Another thing to do is to check out various online groups where you can post yourself and samples of yourself and the fact that you're looking for a collaborator. I know New Musicals, Inc. on our website, we have something called the Writer Bank that's part of our resource center. It's free. Any writer can sign up for it, and it's part of the free part of the resource center. There is a premium subscription, but you don't have to be a premium subscriber to be in the Writer Bank. You get to upload your picture and a bio and a few samples, and you can specifically say if you're looking for someone. And the other thing is, you can look through other people who are in the Writer Bank and see if you can find someone in there that you might want to contact. And there are other groups out there in the world, on the internet or local, that have these kinds of groups where you can post your information. Facebook groups are a great place. Just go onto Facebook and search for groups. If you're a composer looking for a book writer, just type musical theater book writer groups and see if you can sort of troll some of these groups and look to see who's looking for a collaborator, or see if there's a way that you can post that you're interested in a collaborator. So it wouldn't take more than a couple of hours of sitting at your computer doing a lot of Google searches to find some places that you could list yourself and or look at listings of other people who are also looking for collaborators and see what's possible. It's a shot in the dark, but it's sort of like online dating, which brings me to the next one, which is you should do some dating. People don't normally just decide, oh, that's the person I want to marry, and get married and it just works out for the rest of their lives. Generally speaking, you date a little first. So the musical theater version of dating is to write something short. Don't collaborate right away on a full-length project, because a full-length project is months and years and possibly decades of your life. And so before you get into bed with a person for that long, you really need to know that this is a collaboration you're going to enjoy on every level, meaning you're going to be creatively aligned. You're going to work well together, like working together, have a good working relationship and have the same approach to deadlines and that sort of thing. But also that you just get along as people and that you actually want to spend time with this person and you feel like you're going to want to say the same kinds of things. You're going to be on the same page about the themes and the ideas that you're trying to get across in your musical. So I would recommend that you do some dating first, and there are various ways to do that. There are, just like there are groups where you can list yourself and also look for other collaborators, there are also workshops and groups and collaborative experiences out there that would allow you to collaborate with someone short term on a short project. A song and a scene, a 10-minute musical, a 15-minute musical, something short. We have opportunities like that at New Musicals Inc. periodically, and there are other places. You could, or you could just create the experience. You create it for yourself by, for instance, just saying to someone, "Look, I want to just write a short musical to post on the internet. So let's just try that. Let's not even talk about my idea for a full musical. Let's just do this short one." And then you can look for places. There are 10-minute musical competitions and festivals online so that you would have a goal for why you're doing it. That's the other thing I would do. While you're Googling places where you can list yourself or look at other people, also be looking for places where you can do short-term collaborations and either find a place that's already set up to offer you that, or where they will just put you on a team, or create one for yourself by saying to somebody, "I'd like to see if we could be good collaborators. Let's start with something small. Let's start with a song. Let's start with a 5-minute show. Let's start with a 10 or a 15-minute show." So make sure you do some dating first. And I think you'll also find that people are going to be more open to the idea of working on a short piece with you than immediately getting into bed with you with a longer, more involved project that's just more of a commitment. So they're more likely to, if you say, "Hey, I have this great, 3-hour melodrama that or historical drama that I'm working on," the answer might be, "Oh, I don't really have time for that right now." But if you say, "Well, let's just write a 5-minute thing for this. I saw this internet contest that's coming up, and you have to write a 5-minute musical. Let's just do that and see what happens." It's not the end of the world if nothing comes of it, but we've had a chance to check out our collaboration. So that's what I would recommend. Do some dating before you expect to find yourself in a marriage. The last thing, so those are ideas. Look for places where you can go and listen to other people's work and approach them. Look for places where you can list your interest or find other people who are listing theirs, and look for opportunities for short-term collaborations so that you can test out a collaborative relationship before you move forward. And then I want to speak just briefly to one other little thing, which is some people feel like, well, if I go out there and start asking people if they're interested in my project, and I have to tell them about my project in order to get them interested, and now I'm worried that they're going to steal it. If I get my idea out there with too many people, they're going to, my great fabulous idea that I have, I talked to a composer about it. Next thing I know, that composer went and found another book writer, and they're writing the same show. I understand that concern, but I would really, really encourage you to take my experience to heart and to ask around. I think you'll find other people's experience is the same. The likelihood of that happening is very, very tiny. People who have an idea that they love are not likely to grab someone else's idea, because people get very attached to their ideas for good reasons. So first of all, it's unlikely that someone is going to be as excited about your idea as you are. But secondly, it's not about the idea. There's a saying, I wish I knew who to attribute it to, but I've heard it most from my mentor, John Sparks. I'm not sure where he got it. I'll ask him, which is good ideas don't care where they came from. It doesn't matter who came up with the idea. It's about the execution. It really is about the execution of the idea. So you could hand someone your idea and they could say, "Ooh, I'm going to write that one." If they write it better than you, it's because they're better writers, because they have a better way of writing it. If it's your idea and you can write it the best, then that will the cream will rise to the top. So it's not about the idea. First of all, probably nobody's looking to steal your idea. Secondly, if they do, they're not going to execute it the way you do. So your execution is still unique, and that's what really matters, is the execution of the idea. And then thirdly, there is room out there for more than one idea. I'm sure you've all heard of, I'll say this briefly because you probably know, but there's the Phantom of the Opera, Andrew Lloyd Webber's Phantom of the Opera, that has been on Broadway and been a huge success. But there's also Maury Yeston's Phantom of the Opera, which, although it's never been to Broadway, has had a gazillion productions all over the country, and has done very well by its creators. So I don't think they're necessarily hurting on the way to the bank because there was already another Phantom of the Opera. The Wild Party, there's the Andrew Lippa Wild Party, and oh gosh, now I'm going to forget, is it Lacusa? I think it's Lacusa and Lippa each wrote a Wild Party. Sorry if I got that wrong, somebody tell me if I messed up on that. Based on the exact same poem. And they both, I believe, and again, I should have checked this before I did the vlog, I think they both wound up on Broadway in the same season. Now, the fact of the matter is both of those shows get performed and produced, continue to be performed and produced. So when somebody says, oh, I'm doing the Wild Party, the question in the business usually is, which one? Not because one is better or worse, they're different, but there's room for both of them. So I wouldn't worry about putting your idea out there. So if you're trying to find a collaborator, look for people whose work you admire and approach them. Find places where you can post that you're looking, and look for other people and check out their samples. Look for opportunities for musical theater dating to do short pieces together. And don't worry about sharing your idea, because at the end of the day, it's about the execution of the idea. Okay, so that's the second one in the series on collaboration. We'll see you next month with another topic on collaboration. Thanks. Bye-bye.